right? So what I want to do is I want to talk about BIQ. We have been around for 5 years, but what I want to talk about initially is the problem that we spotted in the industry, in the financial services industry, how we address that and what the potential that we see of being a behavioral platform can deliver. So 5 years ago, we founded the company, and we spotted an opportunity. I come from, both me and my business partner spotted an opportunity in that the way that the financial services industry interacts with the consumer is pretty much heavily paper-based and is pretty much an old-fashioned way of doing things. And the thing that it's missing more than anything is the thing that makes us who we are, which are our behaviors. So they never appear on a fact find typically, yet actually they are the core of who we are and are driving every decision that we ever make. So what we did is we thought, let's figure out how big the problem is. So we decided to do some research, and that's where we kind of founded the behaviors or the infrastructure that sits behind BIQ. We then looked at how the best place to apply this, but of course, what you then spot as you go through this is actually there is a huge potential at really understanding who people are, understanding who you are. Are you still with me? Yeah? Cool. It's the quietest room I've ever been in. But of course, it gives us a problem, right? Because every single human being has a multitude of behaviors. We all have cognitive biases. We all take shortcuts when we make decisions. And when you start to analyze the behaviors that are out there, what you realize is it's a mess. There's about 150. It depends what text you read. There could be 220. So what we needed to do initially as a business was kind of create some order from the chaos so that we understood what behaviors we need to establish, what we need to test, and why we need to test them. And when you start to look, what you realize is that there are lots of behaviors. This is my illustration of lots of behaviors. So for example, we all as humans have the behavior or the cognitive bias of loss aversion. Loss aversion is how we feel about losing something. So for example, if you lose your wallet or your purse, it feels pretty horrid, and you don't get the same feeling when you find it again. It feels worse losing than it does having an equivalent gain. We are all biased in the sense of loss aversion. Then there's present bias as another behavior. Present bias, if I said to you, would you rather have £50 right now? You're not, by the way. Or £60 in a week, which one feels more natural to you? And if you say £50 now and I say, okay, what about £70 or £80, I can get you to delay your instant gratification for a bigger future-based reward. That's what present bias is, and we are all present biased to a certain degree. And then the one that actually is a really important behavior is overconfidence or confidence, full stop. Because of course underconfidence is also as damaging. So in this big ecosystem of behaviors, what we needed to do is we discover which ones were the most pertinent, which ones do we really need to understand and use. But of course, we needed to create the order. So what we do is we bring them into a connected ecosystem. And every interaction we have with money benefits from the ecosystem. Today, we focus our energy on the right-hand side, which is investing, and the behaviors that drive investment behavior. But actually, over the next few months, we are broadening that out into, as you can see on the screen, borrowing, spending, and saving. Because what you find is the behaviors that we measure within the investment sphere actually appear in every money interaction we ever make as a human being. If you're borrowing money, it might be present bias. Borrowing money to buy the new iPhone instead of putting it away in your savings, it's a real problem. So how do you know which person or how people behave and how they will react in that context? Loss aversion is really important. I just want to show you some statistics from our recent research with 10,000 people. Loss aversion is an interesting one because we are all averse to loss, but actually what happens as we get older, we become more averse to loss. We become more cautious, if you like. So actually understanding that is important, especially when you are, as an industry, we measure attitude to risk, and we don't often see any movement in that. It's relatively stable. Actually, what you find is our risk-taking behavior, when you look at it on a broader sense, is actually quite dynamic. It's not necessarily stable at all, driven by things like loss aversion. That was sitting in the investment sphere, if you like. Then we also have things like confidence. And the thing is, we know as humans, as we age, we become less confident in our ability and in our knowledge. Especially applying that knowledge, we become less confident. And then the other one that I've already mentioned is present bias. And what we know as we age is we become more long-term in our thinking. Naturally more long-term, which actually is the opposite way around to what it really should be if you think about it. But of course, these behaviors aren't in isolation. They all don't arrive just one after another like buses. They all arrive at the same time when we're making important financial decisions. And they can completely skew our view of what we should be doing. So it's really important to understand these behaviors and how they apply. Last time I asked this question, is everybody still with me? Oh, yes, the other speakers are. But so take present bias, for example. Present bias is available across the lot, as is loss aversion. And what we're doing is we're figuring out what are the most important behaviors and how they apply. But this is meaningless unless the way you present this to the customer is meaningful. It needs to be presented to them in a way that they can get behind and they understand. And you know what? Dare I say this? They find fun. So we spent a great deal of time and effort developing, I'm very pleased to say, a multi-award-winning UX. The way that we ask quite complicated, academic-based psychological questions is what sets BIQ apart. And as I said, a great deal of effort went into how we ask present bias, which I can show you later on. The real questions that sit behind this is on the screen. How we present confidence, how we present loss aversion, is by gamifying and engaging people at a level that they go, do you know what? I like this. I want to keep clicking and I want to engaging. But as they go through the process, it is revealing a ton of information about them. And that's the purpose of BIQ. But I've just shown you some screenshots. What I'd like to do is play for you a 40-second video clip of the actual system itself. So we've reimagined everything. We've reimagined how you ask demographic questions by putting pictures on the screen that people just get. They don't need to read. They can look and they can go, that's me. Then we play back information to people like you all the way through this process. We kind of bring in a UX that is not cluttered, it's clean, and it's easy to understand, and it's easy to interact with. We create games like loss aversion here that people can mentally model in their head without any effort, really. They look at it and they go, I get it. I understand what you're asking of me. You know, if I play that game and lose £50 or £60, I get it. I know what I need to do. Then we tell them how they compare, because everybody likes to know how they compare to other people, the people like you. This is how we visualize present bias by just saying, which one would you rather have? And again, uncluttered, easy to model in your head, and you get it. And we play it back. And then at the end of the process, we do what we call, in this example, a behavioral risk score, where we present people their behavioral input and outputs, but we also show where there are anomalies in their behavior, where they think one thing, but behaviorally are very different. And of course, in a financial services context, that's quite an important thing to understand. If someone thinks they're high risk and are put into a high-risk investment, but behaviorally are as cautious as you can get, I'd want to know that, right? It's an important behavioral anomaly, and all of these anomalies are borne out through the BIQ system. We have recently launched with Santander in the UK for their digital investor advisor process, and this is how they've taken the BIQ API and deployed it within their world. And the thing that I am the most chuffed about, the thing that made me smile more than anything, was that last weekend, in between X Factor, when the adverts came on, Santander's advert rolled for the first time, and within that advert, the guy was sat in his barber's chair doing his BIQ profile. And I just asked the question, how many times on national TV has a risk tool appeared on an advert? It never does, because they're dull and they're boring, unless you can do it in a different way like we've done and engage people on a completely different level, in a fun way. Still alert? I hope what I've done is given you a little bit of an insight into what we've done as a business and why we do what we do. But what I would ask you to do is come and have a look at the demo. Come and have a play with it yourself. Put yourself through BIQ. We're at pod 3. Come along, jump on the laptop, and see how your anomalies play out in the process that we've built. Thank you very much for your time. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day.